We got to mix the mission statement with the idea that everything is relevant. Our stand-up is relevant. Living in New York is relevant because it's all how to deal with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that generally it? Yeah. And how the littlest things in the world ruin your whole outlook on life just because of one day when it's really not that big of a deal, but we've got to find a way to deal with our fucking anger, basically.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Power of How. I'm Matt Fulcheron. I'm here with Brennan Tassif.
Hello, everyone.
And we're starting a new podcast.
Here we go.
We have another co-host, Daniel Tirado, who didn't show up. You'll get to know him later, assuming this is the first episode. It's a weird first episode.
Yeah.
But our philosophy, and this is not our main philosophy of the podcast, but one of our philosophies is start before you're ready.
Absolutely.
And then the other one you're more familiar with, audience, is the show must go on. Daniel was sick, and I'm about to go on a trip. My whole 6 months of income depends on this trip coming up. I shouldn't even be here right now anyway. But I told Daniel, hey, maybe next time.
Yeah.
And before we even get to the manifesto, which is very important, I do want to talk about being sick in 2022 because I just went to LA and I had like a tickle in my throat and I had a little cough and a runny nose. And nowadays a cold can cancel all your plans just based on what it might be.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's taken this weird turn to where it's like if I go to work and I'm like, people are like, whoa. And I'm like, I'm fine, guy. Like, it's just allergies or something. And they freak out.
Yeah. So I got a test and it was COVID-free, COVID negative.
Nailed it.
Flu negative. But I'm still watching myself. And I want to give a comedian I saw this weekend, Jason Collins, credit for this premise because he's already doing it on stage and I don't want to steal it.
Yeah.
But like, you can't cough in 2022.
Yeah.
You can't wipe your nose. So I went to the dentist with this, whatever the fuck it was, this cold, and I'm trying to pretend like I don't have a cough.
So you were trying to hold it back?
While they're in their mouth, and
Yeah.
I'm blaming it on, like, you know, like,
The
I don't know.
tools and
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
like water dripping in the back of my throat. But I know good goddamn well, especially when you start saying to yourself, don't cough, don't cough. That's all you want to fucking do.
I've seen it on the subway where people get aggressive when other people cough.
Yeah.
Like I've been on the train just riding and then some like random person will be like,
Yeah.
And then I've seen people turn and be like, the fuck's wrong with you? And I'm like,
Dude.
whoa.
I was on the plane and I drank some water wrong and it was like finally my cold's gone on the way back. And
That sticks
I
with
drank
you?
some water wrong and I'm coughing. I rip out my mask out of my pocket. I throw it on just to make people feel better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I say to my wife like really loud just so everybody can hear, I drank some water the wrong way.
Down
Honey,
the wrong pipe.
I know I don't like to talk that much, but all of a sudden I feel like talking about some mediocre or trivial shit. And then 5 minutes later, somebody else is coughing and I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with them?
Yeah.
Why don't they just stay home?
Just don't go, man. If you're going to be sick.
Yeah. So
Daniel will be back though.
we have a manifesto. We have a purpose here.
Yes.
We meet today to spread positivity. Though we might get sidetracked along the way, we will definitely get sidetracked along the way. We will try our best to keep our eye on the prize of optimism and a healthy perspective on life. And I think we can do it.
Yeah.
I wrote here, and it's going to be hard, but I don't
really
know.
did write
I wrote
that.
and
Right
it's
there.
going to be hard because I was anticipating some bad news today, and I won't get into that because one thing we don't want on this podcast is division in any sort, or we don't want to exclude anybody, but I'm feeling a little bit optimistic today.
Good.
When I did go to the dentist yesterday, he's like, so how's your day so far? And I was going to tell him how my day was so far.
You were really going to tell
I
him?
was going to tell him like what I did, but what I did was so dirty and disgusting and so good for my health all at the same time.
Yeah.
I felt like a degenerate. I'm like, I traveled late last night, so I just woke up. It was like a 2:00 appointment.
Yeah.
So I felt a little bit like a degenerate
yeah.
telling a doctor that I woke up at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Which is really at that point my 8 a.m. since I've been in LA the past week. But what I did yesterday was I woke up and I was like, today's the day. I've been meaning to do this for a week. And I've been getting texts telling me you got to do this. It's urgent. It's urgent. It's urgent. I shit in a container.
Oh my God. You did one of those
and
tests.
I added chemicals to it. And I closed it up and I put it in a box and I brought it to UPS and I sent it to someone. And it wasn't a prank. It
wasn't a prank.
It was something my insurance company paid a lot of money for.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like the Cologuard test.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And we're not sponsored by Cologuard. I want to put that up front, but I mean, it does sound like fun, doesn't it? Yeah.
Technology is so fascinating how it's advanced to the point where you don't even need to go to do the colonoscopy. Like it's like it's like a 3-day process between the cleansing and the fasting and the actual procedure. Then you're out the whole next day. Yeah. No, this is the one where they put the camera like all the way up.
Sure.
You.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you got to do it. At first it was 50, then it was 40, and then it was 35.
Yeah.
And now they're like, just shit in the box. Just send it to us.
I know. It's great how advanced it is compared to how primitive it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, all right, we've had an advancement. You will now shit at home. And you have no idea how much pressure this is.
What chemicals?
Because let me I don't know. I think it was like whiskey and bourbon or something. I think it probably neutralizes the smell. I fucking hope it does.
Has to.
You have no idea how much heavy lifting of water in the toilet is doing when you take a shit. Because when you shit on a hard surface, the whole house smells like shit.
I didn't even think
and
about
even
that.
just side note, even after I put it in the container and I couldn't smell it and put it in the box and I couldn't smell it, my cat was all over that box.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you guys are home and I want to get into that box.
What's in that box?
Yeah.
What's in the box?
Yeah, 7 part 2. I felt like there was a Gwyneth Paltrow joke in there somewhere, but that's just cruel. There's just so much pressure because first of all, it took forever for me to even get clearance from my insurance company.
Yeah.
To get this treatment. Cause like they wanted me to be over 50. And then my doctor was like, oh, you really should get your insurance company to pay for this.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it. I didn't pursue it, but it's only $650, which is a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
But they made it sound like it was like you can never afford
dollars,
to shit in this container.
Also, how funny is it when they're like, no, your insurance company has, you're like, I used to shit and stuff all the time.
With me.
Light it on fire, put it on someone's doorstep.
Exactly.
Like,
there you go.
This is not hard.
But I'm also so, like, money is so funny to me. It's like, I can't afford anything, so I might as well get everything. You know?
Absolutely. I live my life like that.
Like, I can't afford, it's the same thing as being rich. It's like, well, yeah, give it to me. Put it on my credit card.
Yeah, just throw it on
I'd rather, like, this is only the beginning if this test goes wrong.
It's so funny when people are always, yeah, exactly. When people are always just like, oh, you're going to just do this? And it's like, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you afford? Well, we'll worry about that one.
These are the same people who will sign a fucking car lease.
Yeah,
that's like the fine print says your nuts are going to be in a bag.
Well, and you have it for 3 years. You can't go over 30,000 miles, but they're like, huh? It's a lease. I'm saving money. It's like, no, you're not.
Houses, flat screen TVs, the whole thing.
Yeah,
everybody's is spending money they don't have on comfort and luxury. This is just about my body.
Yeah,
I only get one.
We got to make it another at least 50 years, man.
Give me. That's a lot of work. 40. I'm going to put it at 40. I think that would be good. Yeah. So I almost told the guy because he's a doctor.
Yeah.
I almost fucking told him, but I'm like, you know what, man? Like, you're off the clock, dude. You don't have to entertain people.
As he's like doing this stuff. But guess what I did?
But you get insecure when you're a comedian, when people know you're a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, and that's people always want to know what you do for a living, even in the dentist chair when you can't even answer them. And so they find out a comedian, and now this dude's telling me jokes. And I think
I've seen Seinfeld.
I think my dentist even like has done an open mic before or wanted to be a comedian. So he's always trying to crack me up.
That happened to me at work. One of the corporate people came in, like one of these highfalutin corporate people came into the restaurant, and she was there with her husband or boyfriend, and they were celebrating something. But like the main corporate people don't actually go into the restaurants. But so everyone was like making a big deal about it. And then they were talking about, they were like, oh yeah, we could go to the free show on Monday. And immediately in my head, I go, oh, you guys are talking about The Stand?
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, we love comedy. And then I was like, oh, I do comedy, like trying to like get in like, hey, corporate overlords,
and
what's
we're
up?
friends, and all that stuff.
And then she goes, oh, my husband's done a couple open mics. He loves comedy. He should go with you. And now I'm like, oh no.
Now you got to bring a rookie.
Yeah, I was like, what did I just sign up for? And now I have to do it.
Well,
like if they reach out, I can't be like, sorry, big boss, no way.
So they're the corporate people at your restaurant.
Yeah, so we're owned by a bigger company, and these are the people that work for the bigger company.
Yeah, well, fuck it. I mean, that's going to go one of two ways. One, the guy will just get like, he's already got money, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's going to get bored.
Yeah.
After he gets his nuts fucking split off the side of his chin.
I don't think they're going to call to begin with, because this was like a week ago, and I was like, yeah, just reach out. And then I haven't heard anything. So I'm like, thank God.
And a couple open mics means like one open mic a year.
Yeah.
You know, like this dude ain't going for it.
Yeah. But that is strange when people always find out that you do comedy.
Yeah. And
I offer it up sometimes.
I am on a fucking world tour of just hating the words escaping my mouth, because I live in like regular straight society now.
Yeah.
I am a husband to a professional, like a career woman.
Yeah.
An art therapist who has art therapist friends. They're 15 years younger than me, some of them, and they're like.
And when you go to get-togethers, it's not like you and the comedy buddies. It's you and all her friends.
There's no. I got your ass out to this bumfuck Brooklyn party, which was like a salvation to me. And like I am. So one of my wife's friends says to me, she points at her husband and she goes, "You guys," pointing to me and her husband, "are the oldest guys here. Matt." She goes, "My husband is 42 and Matt, you're 47. And I'm like, so basically you're just saying I'm the oldest guy here by a fucking mile.
Yeah, by half a decade.
I voted in one more presidential elections than this fucking guy. That. Yeah, like she just like called me out. Well, and I don't even think about that. I don't, because I feel like the kid when I'm there.
Absolutely. I told you this before, but I was always the baby at work. Yeah. Because I started in restaurants when I was like 17, 16. Yeah. So I've always been the youngest guy in whatever restaurant. And now that I'm older, I'm 34, I still feel like the kid at work.
That's the thing. I saw this art exhibit when I was 50, and the guy was like, it was a picture of himself in the mirror. And he looked fucking beat up. Yeah. He's bald. He looked 50. And he was like, yeah, you always think, he wrote this whole essay with the photo. Yeah. You always think you're 22 years old, no matter what age you are. I can't. And then you look in the mirror. And I was 20 when I read it. And I go, yeah, I know this is right. And I'm never going to be 50. Yeah. Is what I thought. Yeah. I go, I'm never going to have this problem because I'm always going to be 20. I'm going to be 20 That's forever. The conclusion my brain came to. Yeah. No, and that's how I think all the time. It's weird when I get around people, like I'm around people at work and I feel like I'm like so much younger than they are because they've got like, you know, they're like investing and like planning for their retirement. Because career as a server in New York, you can be a career server and like retire and stuff. And they're all doing this and they're like 4 or 5 years younger than me. Yeah. Like one of my managers is literally 6 months younger than me. That's the best. And I'm always like, no, I'm the kid. Like I'm the one always playing around and stuff. I'm Kid Brennan. Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You need me to buy you beer? Or I'm sorry, can you buy me beer? My boss was like, yeah, my birthday's on, and jokingly, I go, how old are you going to be, like 34? Thinking he was like going to be 40 something. He goes, yeah, I'm going to be 34. And I was like, oh God, what happened? Where did the time go? Right. So I'm hanging out with all these people and they're fascinated with, you know, me being a comedian. Yeah. Whereas like where I was in LA for 20 years and people were like, first of all, everyone's a comedian at the party or an actor or a musician or a director or some shit. There's a couple people who have kind of drifted into casting or whatever. Regularly, yeah. But these people that, and they're becoming my friends too, are always just, they're fascinated by the idea that you could do something like comedy for a living. And you're very successful at it. I know it. I think that's why they're fascinated by it. But it's always weird. It's always weird to me that they're fascinated by it because to me it's just such a grind. Yeah. And such a
Well, people see the Comedy Central Presents, or the people see, you're out on tour. They don't see the 10 years of like going to open mics and like getting bumped and like doing all this other stuff.
I guess I just figured my wife tells them how mopey I am, but she probably leaves it to herself.
Yeah, she probably doesn't say anything. And then you come in and you go, yeah, I'm working on this and that. And they're like, wow.
The only part about it I truly don't like is, well, we've got to come see you perform.
Nope.
Like everywhere I go.
Nope.
Everywhere I go now.
Yep.
So like every family situation, I even told my wife's sisters, I'm like, when I was playing in New Orleans, I was like, hey, don't come see me because like I'm just freaking out that you're going to come see me because New Orleans is so disruptive and everything. And like her older sister at a party, like, told me that she was pissed at me for that. And I'm like,
really?
I'm like,
they don't understand.
You don't understand.
It's like, yeah.
It's going to ruin our relationship if I have a bad night. It's going to ruin my life because it's where it's going to get out. It's like, yeah, I saw Manu.
He's not very good.
Not very good at his job.
Yeah.
He's getting pretty close to 50 to be not good at his fucking job.
I've had that happen where Savannah, I was doing a show. This is back in Jacksonville before I even moved to New York. And Savannah was going to come to the show. And I was like, all right, cool. This is back when we first started dating. And I was like, I want your support. Like, I want you to be like there.
Right.
And then she came, but then she brought her mom and her sister. And I bombed.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, after that moment, I was like, never again, never again.
You got to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and because I've had my dad and my stepmom come to a show, and it fell flat.
Yeah,
because like some of the material I talk about is like my family.
Yeah,
so they were not happy with that. Even though I thought it was really lighthearted, but then when I got off stage, they were like, "Why would you talk about those things? Like, why do you have to talk about that stuff?" And I was like, "Oh no!" And now finally, I'm to the point where the only people I'll have come to a show are if they're like friends. But even I'm starting to learn that doesn't work out. Yeah. Because if you have those rowdy friends that get wasted and think like, oh, my friend's on stage, let's talk to him. Yeah. And then they'll like start heckling. Right. And then they'll heckle other comics. And you're like, I can't take you anywhere. They also think it's some kind of competition. Yeah. So like, we're not going to laugh at the other comics and we're going to scream for, yeah. I've had it where I've gotten on stage before and people were like, oh my God. And then like 2 minutes in, it was just silence. And I was like, what happened to the like? Yeah, people always say they're like, we'll laugh, we're good laughers, and then they fucking panic. Yep. If there's no laughter, they're like, if you say something and everyone else gets quiet, then they're gonna they clam up super fast. Yeah, because they're trying to control it with their minds. Yeah, and so they can't like be in the moment. Yeah. I found out the hard way myself. Like I used to MC at the Irvine Improv, at the Brea Improv, Ontario Improv, and I was going to host at the Baltimore Improv. And I just thought it was going to be like as easy as Irvine, California in the sunshine where everyone's rich and ready to laugh. And you're from that kind of area. I am, but it didn't help me any. They everyone stonewalled me like 6 shows in a row. Oh, God. And people I didn't even invite, like word got out somehow. This is before social media. Yeah. And word still got out. God. And it was just like, I didn't even know what to do. I'd never experienced Baltimore like that. Where everyone's just silent? Yeah, just like ignoring me. I'm like, you guys paid for tickets to be here, right? Yeah. So that's what it's like being an adult now. I have to pretend like my job is some regular profession. Do you ever lie on like planes and stuff? I'm not good at that. I would like to, but I know Tom talks about it where sometimes he'll say he's like in like some random accounting kind of thing. Yeah. Just so people are like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then I think he was telling the story where he did it one time and the guy was like, oh, what firm? I'm also an accountant. And he was like, ah, shit. 4 + 4 = 8. And then just pass out. Yeah. Every lie I've told goes wrong. Oh, yeah. I've told a lie where I was in North Carolina and some guy picked me up and he's like, what are you doing in town? And I was like, business. I work in swimming pools and there was a convention. And then it was just like really quiet for the rest of the trip because you don't say I work in swimming pools. Yeah. And it's fucking Wilmington, North Carolina. They know if there's some kind of convention. They know everything that's happening in town. He drives Uber. Yeah. He never heard this shit before all weekend. Now Sunday, I'm just whipping up a convention. When's the convention? Oh, it was this past weekend. No, it wasn't. It was at the Hilton Garden Inn. Yeah, that's where they picked me up, was the Hilton. I should have said that.
And then one time thinking I was like, it was in LA. And so I figured everybody works in show business. So
yeah.
The guy's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a site rep. And he's like, what's that? I'm like, I work on movie sets and I make sure nobody fucks up the building. And I was like, whew, to me, that's so boring.
Yeah.
He's like, who's the most famous person you ever met? And I'm like, oh.
Did you tell him the Schwarzenegger story?
No, I didn't tell him shit because I'm like, nobody. God damn it.
It's also weird because at my level, I'm like, bar show, like jump on a produced show at a real club. Like that's the level I'm at. And people are still fascinated. Like you've toured the entire world, been on TV. I'm like 20
That's
levels
how I
below
put it
that.
too. I'm like, I've toured the entire world and it's really just Canada and Australia. But still, man,
that's
three
world.
fucking countries.
Yeah. And so it's weird. And I used to joke about this with some of my comedy friends back in Florida. But the second, because we were in Jacksonville, so it's a 2-hour drive to Savannah.
Yeah.
The second you do a show in Savannah, you're a nationally touring comedian because you've been to a different state. That's the rule, man.
By state.
But it's so weird because like, even at my level, people are like, because, obviously I'm committed enough to it. I moved to New York. This is my whole life. So people are always like, comedy.
Yeah.
Like, who have you worked with? That's so, and like, I can rattle off a couple names, but it's also just like, if it's not, I think you and I have talked about this before, but if it's not like Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr or Eddie Murphy, like people don't know.
Yeah. Well, the most humiliating thing for me is like, people asking they're like, oh, you're a comedian? And then they ask me my last name twice. Like, I'll be like, yeah, I'm Matt Fulcheron. What is it? And sometimes they're like spelling it on their phone in front of me. And I'll like spell it out for them so they can like look it up.
Yeah.
Like, look, just to see my face on their phone. They're looking right at me already.
Do you still do the full charge? Do you still go by full charge sometimes? Because like in LA, I remember you would tell stories about like you'd be like jogging or something in LA and someone would be like, full charge.
I go by full charge in that people call me that.
Yeah.
And I respond to that. But I don't introduce myself.
But if someone was like, oh, you're a comedian, what's your name? If you just went, the full charge.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that because they'll be like, what's your last name? And I just go, just type in the full charge. Which, to be honest, is really fucking cool that I come up.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Let's get real for a second.
Come on.
Dude, you want to talk about international? That's the whole internet.
Yeah.
I know there's an algorithm and they probably looked up another comedian before, but dude, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah. If you type in the full charge into Google, you come up.
My dumbass face comes up.
Yeah.
I've like hijacked an entire like persona that I don't even live up to.
Well,
it does not describe my personality at all.
I'm older.
Yeah.
The half charge.
Yeah. I'm lucky I made it this morning. Let's put it that way. The podcast we're taping is at 11 a.m. and I couldn't even barely sleep last night. I can't sleep when I have to wake up early in the morning.
I'm the same way.
And
are you still doing the edibles?
Yeah, the edibles worked. I got these edibles in LA that just really knock you out.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable. But they still didn't work that well last night because I was just like, to be honest, just like looking at the election coverage and just scrolling through my Twitter like a fucking fiend. And there's certain days where it's justifiable to me, especially if I'm on an edible. Like I'm just like I can't sleep. I'm like when Trump got corona, I just could not put the phone down.
Yeah, you have to.
I could not put the phone down.
You need like the play-by-play.
Yeah, and then finally at 2:30 a.m. last night, I go, dude, you better turn this TV off while there's still some optimism.
Yeah.
Like before there's concrete fucking results. Because you might not be able to sleep at all if something doesn't go your way.
My phone got blown up this morning. Because of everything that happened. Obviously, living in Florida my whole life. My sister, we were talking yesterday and she goes, did you vote? And I was like, yeah, I voted. She goes, well, things down here aren't going too well. And I was like, oh, really? What's up? And she's like, there's a hurricane coming. Everyone's voting for the wrong people. And I was like, well, wait a second. First of all.
Yeah.
But it's just it's so interesting because because that's what I studied in college was political science and stuff. So being around it so often, now I just kind of like look up like what people, like the platforms that they stand on. And then I go vote.
Yeah.
And then I'll watch on TV or on social media, and these people like lose their minds. And it's something like you and I have talked about where it's like, you're not screaming at people isn't going to change their mind. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not how you operate.
Yeah, no, and that's the society we live in now.
Yeah.
And it's contagious.
Whether it's through a keyboard or online
it's just, and it's mostly through a keyboard.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because it's very easy to say some rude shit to somebody online. Which brings us to our first segment. Was I a dick?
Was I a dick?
I'm going to give you two. Oh, well, let's explain. Was I a dick?
Yeah.
So,
the audience.
Every week, we hope we have enough of these stories. Each co-host is going to offer a story and pose the question, the way they behaved, and they question the person that tells the story might know which direction it is. Were they a dick? We've got three categories. There's dick, decent person,
and then my favorite,
saint. And I'm pretty sure I know this, but I've got two stories to offer on Was I a Dick?
Okay.
And I'm going to be two different things. Okay, in both these stories. The first story, I'm in the pool locker room, and I just swam, and a lifeguard is sitting like 5 feet away from my locker.
Yeah.
And he's sitting on a bench and facing me. So I'm in this huge locker room, and this dude, this lifeguard, this guy that fucking works there.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be at the pool. Is just sitting there, like, facing me.
Is he facing you because of the way the bench is?
He's facing me because he's sitting in a very lazy position where he's leaning up against a small little wall.
Okay.
A tiny little outreach of wall.
Yeah.
And he's on his phone with the volume up, TikToking.
Oh my God.
So it's that abrupt song or celebration, or every 5 seconds it's a new fucking noise. And there's a sign right on the wall that says no cell phones in the locker room.
And this
motherfucker works there.
So he knows what the rules are.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, dude, you got the sign. You point to it. You tell this motherfucker, get out of here. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable. But I was just like, I'm self-conscious of falling into middle-aged white guy behavior.
Yeah.
Or to be perceived as Karen behavior. Dude's already got his phone out. He's already on TikTok. I could just be live streamed in my fucking skivvies yelling at this guy. And then I finally fucking blow up, finally become famous. And everyone knows how hairy my back is.
Full charge really goes full charge.
Yeah, finally. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to tell on him on the way out. And then I was walking out and I go, I'm not going to fucking ruin this guy's job. So he sucks. That's punishment in and of itself. This is going to be your life, dude. And I've been where he is before too.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get my shit together. And it's because of things like that. He's just got to figure it out. And I just walked out of there and just let it go.
So I would.
Well, hold on. It goes hand in hand with another story.
Okay.
Another time I went to see this movie, Smile.
Yeah.
This fucking my wife likes horror movies.
She does. She loves
because she's like scared of the devil and ghosts.
She loves those horror movies, though.
She got a master's degree, and she's fucking.
You cannot bring a goat's head in the house.
She's scared of the devil. She like if I even like listen to too much metal. Or even like do a voice like this, she fucking flips out. Meanwhile, I love it because I grew up under the thumb of Catholicism, and I was straight up like her until I was like probably like 18 or 19 years old. I finally got laid, and I started to question Christianity because I had to. I had to get out of this mentality. Like, so I'm going to hell now.
Now it's
that's when the investigation started. I don't really think I deserve to go to hell.
Not for this.
Just one lay. It wasn't that great, and I suffered the punishment on earth for it. This woman was terrible. So we went to see this movie, Smile. And because I'm a husband now, which means if I'm not working during the weekend, I must entertain my wife. Yeah. I must entertain this woman. And she's relentless with the entertainment. Like me, if I do one thing, if I do one fucking thing, that's the day.
Yeah.
You know, but then it's like, and she'll be like, so what do you want to do tonight? And even during the lockdown, what do you want to do tonight? Are you fucking kidding me? Let's get in an argument with your mother and go to bed.
Well, she'll stack things too. Like if you guys go to an early dinner, won't she be like, well, what do you want to do after?
Yeah, I'm
you're
like, this is
after. This is it.
It's like Seinfeld. This is the dinner. This is the fucking thing. She doesn't consider. She just considers that dinner. Yeah. She doesn't consider that going out.
We were gonna eat at home or we were gonna eat out.
Yeah. And she also married. Like, so she's the one that likes to go out. Yeah. But I'm the one that's got to come up with what we do, even though I don't like going out. Yeah. So like
you're the cruise director,
and it's got to pop. And this is typical. I've seen this shit on Family Guy, so I know it's typical. I'm in charge with coming up for what's for dinner, and she's in charge of saying no. You know? Yeah. And I'm coming up with incredible things. You know, Thai food, sushi. I mean, this is already like crazy to me. Yeah, this is already like we should not be spending money on this. I'm already pitching fucking hardballs. Yeah. Pizza, sandwiches, pho, whatever it's called. Yeah. Nothing's grabbing me. And there's nothing more sad and more like karmically ill than reluctant sushi. Oh, God, you know what I mean?
I couldn't imagine.
You know, it's like, but I mean, obviously, once the sushi gets there, everybody's happy. But my point is, like, not being excited about it is sad. It's sad.
It's something. It's an interesting point you bring up because living in New York, it's like Savannah will be like, "Hey, I'm hungry," and I go, "What?" Think of anything you could possibly think of, and we can go get it
within a 5-block radius.
Anything, anything. And she'll do the, oh, well, what do you think? And I'll just start listing. Yeah. No. And I'm like, we can literally eat anywhere in the world.
We can order at the sushi place and then change our goddamn minds and go to the Thai place.
We could go get German schnitzel if we wanted to. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Cheeseburgers and fucking wonton soup. Yeah. But at the same restaurant in some cases. So we go to the movies and it's like, it goes against my instincts. It's, first of all, I know it's going to be a shitty movie, but I don't care because it's like 2 hours of sitting on my ass. Yeah. And I'm not going to be talking.
That nice air conditioning.
I just like chill. But it's a Saturday night in the East Village, which.
Oh, you guys went all the way over there?
The East Village, you know. In my head, the East Village is like cool, like New York City, like punk rock and shit. But it's really just college kids. Yep. And college kids do not know how to behave in public.
At all.
And so they're all talking and they're all freaking out over every little thing. And
this is during the movie?
This is during the movie, which is bad enough. But there's people like one seat over from me that are just talking through the whole movie. And I'm just like sitting there and I talk myself out of it. I'm like, it's Saturday night. What are you really going to say? Yeah. How's this going to go? It's a dark movie theater. I don't know like how big they are. I don't know what they got in their pockets. Like, I just need to chill. And then we get out of the movie and Kristen was like, yeah, those people were talking too much. She's like, I want to say something to them. And so then my brain starts like, thinking it, I'm like, oh, well, this is Kristen. She is like very nice.
Yeah, she's
very sweet.
Yeah.
But she's also very healthy with communication. So like if she says we should say something.
She's therapy, yeah.
And so I'm waiting in line for the bathroom from a distance. And I see the kid. I get a good look at the kid on the way out. And I say kid. Now I'm like, oh, this little fucker ruined my night. I can take him. He ain't shit, you know?
Yeah.
His girl goes to the bathroom. He's sitting on the ground. And then Kristen goes, oh, that line's not really. I think everyone's waiting for their girlfriends. I don't think that's a men's room line. She goes, there's never a men's room line. And I realize how big the bathroom is. I go, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'm walking past the kid. And I just say to myself, I go, hey, dude. Because he's on the ground. So I'm feeling even more like there's like a psychological aspect to it. Yeah. I go, hey, dude.
Physical dominance.
And he looks up and I'm actually like talking through people who are kind of hanging out, like kind of big dudes. But I'm like beaming it at the dude and he's on his phone and he's not paying attention at first. But I go, hey, dude, you talk too much in the movie. And he's about to say sorry. And I go, so shut up. And I keep walking and I go to the bathroom and I can't even piss for like 2 minutes because my adrenaline is up. Yeah. And it's not because I think I'm going to get my ass kicked, although I do suspect it is a possibility that he might have a big brother there, or he might this,
have
or he might that, or it could go wrong any number of ways.
Yeah.
And I realize that it's kind of foolish to do that. And my primal instincts are up. My heart is racing. I'm ready. And it's also just like showing that fucking emotion
fight
in
or flight,
public
man.
is just like, oh, I can't piss for like 2-3 minutes. I'm just sitting in the stall, like just trying to get together scenarios. Like, okay, what if he comes back in? What are you going to say? Blah, blah, blah. What's
this? Is how we always do it.
Yeah. And then I just kind of walk out and I go to Kristen and I go, hey, I'm sorry about that. And she's like, sorry about what? I'm like, I unloaded on that kid. And she's like, oh, I didn't hear you. And I was like, surely the entire fucking lobby heard me. Because no one else was talking.
Oh my God.
It was like I said it in a library.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a millennial, like Gen Z crowd. So they walk out, they're all on their phones. So like, my phone was off for 2 hours. I got to catch up. Yeah. So there you have it. Those are the two similar situations with two different responses. And
I was going to say in the first one, I would label it almost, and I mean, we got to establish what the threshold's going to be, but that's almost saintly for the first one.
I think
because that kid was breaking all sorts of rules. He works there. Yeah. And this is something that I find myself in, that very same situation all the time. Because I'm a bigger guy, so like if I've had this happen before where I've gone to not even like accost people, but I've gone to just confront people about something they've done.
Yeah.
And immediately it's like, I'm uncomfortable. What is this guy doing?
Yes.
He's gonna, he's threatening me. And I'm like, whoa. So the fact that so that runs through my head all the time is I should say something to them. And then it's like, well, no, because I've been in that situation before where they freak out. And then all of a sudden I'm the one getting yelled at by people.
Because people who walk up are like, oh, this big guy's obviously fucking picking with this
on
guy.
Yeah. And so the fact that you just kind of let it ride and then didn't even tell his bosses about it, I think that's higher level.
I think the second part is definitely higher level where it's like, all right, even though this guy is driving me nuts, it's still just trivial, and I don't think this kid deserves to lose his job.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, fuck it. If anyone's going to fuck it up, it's going to be him, not me.
And he's going to do it down the line for sure. And then I think obviously the only difference is in the second story actually saying something to him. I think that brings you to from saintly to the decent person category, because I don't think you're a dick at all.
Oh. I wasn't a dick until I go, so shut up. I was like on a roll. Like, it was like, I threw it out, like, kind of like, huh? And then it was like, like nothing happened. I saw that he was starting to apologize, and I was like, so shut up.
I still don't even think that was like, I still don't think you were a
That's
dick.
That's like the alley-oop, like the ball was already over the net, and I was like,
I still don't think you were a dick for that, because he was talking too much.
Right.
And that's, so almost very similarly, that's something happened to me at the gym where I thought like I could definitely be a dick.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking about this segment when it happened.
Yeah.
I'm working out and I'm lifting an incredibly heavy amount of weight, and I have clips on the end of the bench.
Yeah.
I go to fill up my water bottle, and when I come back, someone has taken the clip off of one side, which is incredibly dangerous.
No shit.
This isn't like 100 pounds. This is 405 pounds. And someone just pulled the clip off.
Yeah.
And I look around, and there's a new person in the gym area.
Yeah.
And he all of a sudden has two different clips on his bench.
Oh, shit.
And I go, and in my head, I go, this fucking piece of shit walked over, saw all this weight on this bench, and just thought, oh, he doesn't need this.
Yeah.
And just took it.
Right.
And same exact thing ran through my head. I go, well, I can say something to him.
Right.
But then not. So I just fumed.
Yeah.
For the entire, and then I was like, well, I'll say something to the staff. And I go, what are they going to, they don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So then I did the same thing where I just like went in the locker room, and I was like, well, I guess I just lose this one. But the whole time I'm thinking like, this could in all honesty, this could legitimately hurt somebody.
Yeah, no, I know.
If he took that off and I wasn't paying attention and I went to lift it and then like I lost a little balance, the weights would just slide off.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, well, and I was trying to justify being an asshole because I was like, well, that's dangerous. So someone needs to tell him.
Yeah.
Then I was like, nobody cares.
Yeah, right. I will tell you that. So I've done both these things now.
Yeah.
And you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't, because at least for me, I would just be so dissatisfied with either outcome.
Yeah.
That I err on the side of not saying anything.
Yeah.
Because it's safe. I'm this type of person, and not everybody's this type of person. I'd rather have somebody else be the dick.
Oh, yeah.
Than I'm the dick.
100%.
And so I'll just let them be the dick.
Yeah.
I'm glad, because we started talking about this podcast a couple months ago, and we started thinking about like the Was I a Dick segment. And I'm really happy that I did this exercise, because I'm conscious of these two things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is actually going to change how I operate in my life. Well, like, I will pick the first way from now on, most likely.
Yeah, and we came up with this segment because we're the kind of people we see it all the time, especially living in New York where you're all on top of each other.
Yeah.
Where people just confront people, and you and I will look at it and be like, it's not that big of a deal,
Right,
man.
right.
And we operate in this world of empathy, which I don't think a lot of, not 100% of other people share.
No.
So it was so easy to come up with this idea, and then we'll tell it to other people sometimes, and they go like, well, yeah, of course you got to say something. It's like, well, do you?
It's interesting.
Do you?
It's interesting. You're right. It's interesting that there's people out there, and I know there's people out there, and I see it with my own eyes
that are super confrontational.
That are confrontational, but also they never asked this question: was I a dick?
Yeah.
We'll have a guest on here at some point who will be like, "Well, I guess I could tell this story just to fill some time." He'd be like, "You're a fucking dick
asshole,
in that story," and they'd be like, "Well, that's how you get ahead in life."
Yeah.
And I don't think they're wrong, but I think it takes a certain type of person to go, essentially, my feelings, and it's a tough call. But in some cases, they're saying to themselves, or they don't even examine it, I'm just more important. My way is more important than other people, where I am constantly trying to entertain other people's perspectives.
My whole adult life has been, well, I don't care how I feel as long as you're comfortable.
Yeah, and that's a problem too. It can be.
Yeah.
It can be. And so that's why it's good to have this segment.
Absolutely. I don't think you were a dick at all. And in fact, in the first scenario, I'll say it again. I think you were a saint.
Okay.
In the second one, I'll give you a decent person only because you told him to shut up.
Yeah. Okay.
But definitely not a dick.
Right. No, but, and so I did a good job of,
especially Krista didn't even hear you, so you weren't yelling as loud as you thought.
I was yelling. She was just on her phone. She's a millennial too. And she just doesn't see me doing something like that.
Yeah.
And she's not going to watch me walk to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But, I did get home and I was like, dude, that was like, you were out of line. Like, you shouldn't have done that. But then I just let it go. I go, I'm talking about it on The Power of How someday. And,
it's all
I gotta let myself, I actually let it go.
Yeah.
That's another skill that I hope to strengthen, is just letting the self-criticism go.
That's one of my hardest things.
Because, like, sure, like, I did something I didn't want to do again, but that's what we're learning here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you learn. And I have this idea where I feel like I have to be perfect and behave perfectly all the time, which is just impossible.
Well, and it's also one of those things where, because I play all those scenarios out in my head, much like you do, where it's like, what is the best case scenario? Mm-hmm. So like in my case with the gym situation, like, do I confront him and he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You had walked away. So many people leave their weights on. I just assumed you were done.
Yeah.
Like that's the absolute best case. And I still don't get the clip back. So that's the best case scenario. Right. And it's like, that's not how it's going to go though.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost dissatisfying if it would go that well, because you don't get the clip back, like you said.
Yeah.
And like now you don't really get to hate this guy as much.
Yeah.
Which I know is a good thing. But like, I don't know. At least there's a villain.
Yeah.
To go, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck this
But now
guy.
it's just like a big nothing. Like, yeah, okay, I was upset, and then this guy diffused it.
Yeah, like,
and then this anger just like fizzles.
And here it is like a few days later, and I'm just kind of like, oh, who? But that's it. Speaking of letting go, that's something I have to get better at, because talking about it now, I'll get myself rehyped.
Yeah.
And we've joked about it before, but like the list that I have of everyone who's ever slighted me in comedy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, just let it go. And there's a huge part of me where I'm like, yeah, I should just let it go. But the thing that I probably get the most worked up about is this exact scenario, what we're talking about. And was I a dick? Was the fact that I'm so conscious about that at all times. It's when other people don't give a shit. That's when I'm like, no, you have to pay. Like, there has to be some sort of punishment for you going through life treating everyone like garbage.
That's why it drove me insane. The movie theater kids. It's like, we're just going to fucking wreck your night with our parents' money. Yeah, because we're like, we paid to get in with.
You're looking around like, everyone, we're just going to let this happen. We're just going to let this happen.
Right. And we are.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part about modern society. We've seen a lot of things, especially in the government, where we're like, surely that's a crime.
Yeah.
And prosecutors are like, nah. We're just going to, we'll let this play out in public opinion. I'm like, public opinion?
What?
Have you traveled this country? No disrespect, no division.
Sure.
But Jesus fucking Christ.
Surely that's a crime.
There's a lot of people that aren't exactly fucking scholars out there.
I saw this meme and it was so true. It's like, my favorite part about voting day is watching all my friends that post the most ridiculous stuff on social media being like, I voted. It's like, that's comforting. That's real comforting.
Sit this one out, dude.
You're good, man.
Do you have a was I a dick, or was that what your was I?
No, I mean, I do have a lot. This is actually something I'm glad, because this just happened like 2 days ago, and I wanted to bring it to the show because I work in the service industry, and something I run into a lot is because I work at a swanky steakhouse. It's business meetings, which is fine. Obviously, like, they come in, they spend a lot of money, they always tip 20%. I have no problem with it. The thing I have a problem with, though, is when I approach the table and no one looks up, no one stops talking, because I have stuff I have to do. Like, you're only going to sit there for so long until you realize, oh, we don't have any water or bread or drinks. But every time I come to the table, you completely ignore me. So how are you supposed to get those things?
So this is a corporate meeting, but it's in the restaurant. And you're serving.
And I'm the server. So I walk up to this table and nobody stops talking. And I go, excuse me, I don't mean to, and you always put your hand on the table to like establish, it's again, establish dominance from a physical perspective. So I just put my hand on the table and I go, excuse me.
And you go, so shut up!
But I was being super, I've done this a long time. I'm very good at this job. So I put my hand on the table. I go, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. My name is Brennan. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be in charge of your service this evening. Do we want to start with still, sparkling, or tap water? And everyone just kind of looks at everyone. And then I did something that I don't normally do. And this is the was I a dick. But because I deal with this all the time at this restaurant. And I had gotten to the point where it was towards like the middle to the end of the night, because I opened, so I'm about to get out of there. And I got to the point where I was kind of like over it. So I just look at everyone and I go, still, sparkling, or tap water. Like just like in that tone. And one of the guys looks at like the main guy and he goes, tap's fine. And I go, okay, awesome. I'll be right back. And I don't know because in New York, a lot of times if you're stern with people, you can get away with it because it's just like, people in New York aren't rude. They just know what they want, or they're going. And so people can get away with being stern and kind of a dick. But at the same time in my head, I was like, I made it very clear. Like, we're all, and this is actually a true thing that happens in New York. It's like, we're all speaking English. Like, we're all on the same page. Like, why is it no one can decide? And because it's a corporate meeting, everyone's deferring to the boss.
Exactly.
And that's what was happening. Which is why I said it again and kind of like looked like, what are we doing? So do you think because I did that, I was being a dick? So
I'm going to give you a decent person on that. And we should get some graphics. We should get some graphics that are like, decent person.
You only get the horn if you're a saint.
Couple things here. That wasn't your opening line. I mean, it was your opening line, but it wasn't your opening attitude. You came, You came like just with, hey, got a question for
that
you.
Positivity, yeah.
This is surely, if you work for this company, you've been to a restaurant before.
Yeah, obviously.
And you
this
understand
is where we do our business.
You understand that we do this verbally. I ask you what you want, and you tell me.
Yeah.
And you are a group of people who supposedly run a corporation, and you can't figure this out. And there's 10 of you.
They're in their 50s. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, how long have you been doing
Right.
You're all obviously executives in the corporate world. You go out to eat for all your meetings.
Yeah.
And I understand. And you and I have talked about this with some other people that we know, is there's a severe disconnect when I approach the table. That's why I try to make myself as human as possible.
Yeah.
And people listening might think like, that's stupid. Like, of course you're a human. And no, like when you work in the restaurants I work in,
Yes.
you're seen as literally an object or a mechanism or a tool. Yeah. And so it's very important to kind of get people's attention.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's so bizarre, like how I'll go up to tables and they just kind of look up and then literally, and then just go back to talking.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, still sparkling or tat.
I'm going to do you one better too. All those people respected you.
Yeah.
Especially the boss.
Oh yeah.
Especially the boss.
I didn't even think about that.
Because that is what they need in business. They need direct communication.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need an authority. And like you went from being someone who was helping to someone that was all of a sudden in charge.
This is my
of
house.
Something
You're
that
just
wasn't
guessing
going
it.
well. And if you didn't make them take action, then you were just going to be standing there all night.
Yeah.
And you made them take action. And that is much respected in the business world. And half those fucking people don't deserve their jobs. They're just there to kiss the boss's ass.
Yeah.
And they're
Kiss the ring
They're
and
too
then-
nice to fire these people because they have families and shit.
Yeah.
And you were just like, hey.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, because I tell people I train
And they
that
got
all
their
the
fucking water too.
Yeah,
didn't
they did.
Yeah.
They got tapped. They were right on it.
Yeah.
And I tell people this all the time when I train them, because a lot of times people can get intimidated, especially not only like with the business people we have come in, but like we have like big stars come in. Like I told you about Channing and like Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Like these people come in all the time and they're very, very famous.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the servers will be like meek with them. Like, oh my God, excuse me. Can I? And I go, no.
Yeah.
This is your house.
Yeah.
They are a guest in it.
Yeah.
Act accordingly.
Right.
They don't know anything about anything on the menu. Like this is your place.
Yeah.
Like you should feel the most comfortable here.
Yeah.
Cause this is like, we're not getting fired unless you fucking throw something at a guest. You're not getting fired.
Yeah.
So it's like, relax.
And also these famous people, they're not as knowledgeable that they're famous as you might think.
Yeah.
Because they've been in certain situations like we were just talking about, like me at my wife's parties.
Yeah.
Where people don't know who they are. And so they don't assume that because it's very embarrassing for them.
I've had guests come in and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then people are like, who? And I'm like, how the fuck do you not know this person?
It's not 1985.
Yeah.
Like we used to have
Carson set and all
we
this
used
stuff.
to we used to have known celebrities. Like if you were a celebrity, if you were Burt Reynolds, everybody knew who Burt Reynolds was.
Hell yeah.
Now there's people like I'll be on Twitter and they'll be like trending hundreds of thousands of tweets about some Korean boy band. I don't I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I'm not going to find out. But everyone has their own celebrities now. Even Hollywood movie stars. There's people that don't watch movies. There's people that just watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Well, we have
and
people
TikTok.
come in and they go, like, our bartender, she's awesome. And people will come in and she go, oh my God, that's so-and-so. And I'll be like, fucking who?
Yeah. Right.
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if it's not someone in like, you know, our
It's not
lane,
Barack Obama. Like,
yeah, I'm like, who?
Yeah.
So I'm glad to know I wasn't a dick because I've been, it happened like a week ago and I've been thinking about that every single day. Like I could have approached that. Like I could have been more soft spoken, but at that point I was just so tired of like, you answer 3 questions. That's it. That's all I need from you.
Right.
And we can move on.
Yeah.
I'll never come back over.
I think you played within the boundaries.
Okay. All right.
Now, if you cursed,
Yeah.
that's like 1 foot over the line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
I would never curse at a
If you
table.
play by the rules, which you did, like God help all of you if no one answered after that.
Yeah.
Because then you have to move in some direction. You have to do less or more or even the same thing.
Just again.
It would be horrible. So
the best part about it.
At that point, you just got a line like, okay, thirsty dinner. And then just fucking bring them bread.
The best part about it, turns out on the floor plan, I misread it. So it wasn't even my table. So after all that happened, I walked, like they got their water. I went to go get them bread. And as I'm putting the bread on the table, another server came over and was like going over the specials with them and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
How are you going to get fired on your day off? You got fired by a table that wasn't even yours.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm so stupid.
No, you're not. That's something we need to address on this podcast. We're amateur philosophers here.
Yes.
We're trying our best. And that's where Daniel really comes in. He's not with us today, but Daniel is Canadian and he's a unique, especially for a stand-up comedian, like uniquely insightful and probably knows about a lot about mental health. I'm assuming. Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm learning is that you don't criticize yourself so hard.
Yeah.
You learn what you can learn from it, maybe write it down or whatever, and acknowledge that that's why it happened or that's what you're going to do with it if you don't want to get philosophical or spiritual about it. But beating yourself up and criticizing actually just makes things worse.
Yeah. There's, what is the old saying? Put down the bat, we need the wood. Like it's something it's hard for me because growing up, especially as an athlete in sports and stuff, that's all it is negative reinforcement. Oh yeah. You fucking moron. How could you miss that block? You suck, you suck, you suck. And then growing up in that environment all the way through college, I approach comedy the same way, which is good because it makes me hyper competitive and I work my ass off. But then if something goes wrong, I'm like, everyone was right. You suck, you suck, you suck.
This is what I gained from, one of the things I gained from growing up Catholic is just like this whole concept of I'm guilty. Yeah. I'm born guilty. And there is nothing wrong with self-punishment. It's encouraged. Yeah. You know, and that's one of the reasons I'm not Catholic anymore. But you know, it's weird that I'm finding out this stuff in my 40s. Yeah. That like, that's not a good
healthy
thing. I always thought it was a good thing.
Me too. Like and again, it goes back to like whenever I get overly frustrated, sometimes I snap. Yeah. And I'll yell. Yeah. And then people go, you don't need to yell. And I go, well, no, that's how I communicate. Right. Is I yell, I get it all out there, and then we move on. Right. And they go, well, it's not what you said, it's how you say it. Yeah. And I'm always like, you're right.
Because not everyone's going to move on.
No, and not a lot of people. This is not 1980s Midwest, you know, Ohio, where people respond to getting screamed at. Yeah, yeah. Like I grew up in Florida my whole life, but my whole family's from the Midwest, and that's just how you talk to people. Yeah. You fucking moron. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, let's have a beer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no harm in it.
Yeah. But oh man, I grew up in a family. I'm thinking, and it is a good family and it was a loving family, but emotions weren't exactly valued. Like you know what I mean? It was considered impeding progress on the day. Yeah. Like, and I get that. Like, you know, if you were upset about something, if I was upset about something and my parents didn't think it was worthy of being upset about it, they just you fucking get over that. Yeah. Get over that shit. We're moving on.
Speaking of wood, we got wood to chop.
Yeah, we got stuff to do.
That is a waste of time. So in a way, it's healthy. It's like that is a waste of time.
Don't harp.
But then it was never like acknowledged. Yeah, you know what I mean? What about? And so then I've learned that emotions are something you stay away from. And something you'd be kind of like embarrassed about. Yeah. And I still feel like when I do calmly speak to my wife about my emotions, I still feel like it blows up in my face and I get embarrassed. Like
you do?
Maybe, yeah, like especially if my wife doesn't see it that way. And it's like now I'm like taking the time to express this shit. Yeah. And it's not even going my way. And now she's mad at me, and now I still feel this way, and there's no progress. Do you know what I mean? So I still get reinforced in, well, just keep your fucking mouth shut. Yeah. Even though I know that's not healthy either. I think this is like a dilemma in a way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, and you just have to be prepared for whatever choice you make.
100%.
You know, and there are times when anger is appreciated. I just want to, another segment I just want to rush through is, no, fuck, we'll just do it. We'll just do it next time.
Do you want to do it now? We got time.
No, it's just so brief. I don't want to rush through it.
Okay.
I think I declare this episode the official first episode.
Boom.
I don't think we're going to have to go back and retape it.
No.
We've got a 2/3 majority on that,
Yes.
I think. Sorry, Daniel. Daniel will be here for the next one. We look forward to that, and we thank you for giving us an hour of your time. We hope at the very least that we entertained you, and at the most that we maybe you learned something.
Perfect.
That's our agenda. We have an agenda on this podcast.
Yes.
This is my 5th or 6th podcast, and it's the first time I have. No, I had another one, Roadheads, that was a theme, but this one, I don't know. I'm not an expert in it, but I'm very interested in it, and I'm happy to be a part of this.
I'm happy you had me on, man. This is fun.
Had you on.
Well, no, like the development of it.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something you've been talking about with starting a new podcast for a while, and I'm glad I could tag along and be a part of it.
It feels good to have somewhere to go in the morning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, be good to yourself out there. Don't beat yourself up, and check in with us next week. Thanks for listening to The Power of How. Music by Daniel Torado, artwork by Nelson Diaz. Follow us on all the social medias at The Power of How Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe, and check us out at patreon.com/The Power of How Podcast. Send us some positive vibes in the form of U.S. currency. See you next week, everybody.